and our identity as Africans. The world was not created piecemeal. Africa was not born no later nor earlier than any other geographical area on the globe. Africans no more and no less than other men possess all human attributes, talents, and deficiencies, virtues, and faults. Thousands of years ago, civilizations flourished in Africa, which suffer not at all by comparison with those of other continents. In those centuries, Africans were politically free and economically independent. Their social patterns were their own, and their cultures truly indigenous. The obscurity which enshrouds the centuries which elapse between those earliest days and the rediscovery of Africa are being gradually dispersed. What is certain is that during those long years, Africans were born, lived, and died. Men on other parts of this earth occupied themselves with their own concerns and in their own conceit, proclaimed that the world began and ended at their horizons. All unknown to them, Africa developed in its own pattern, growing in its own life, and in the 19th century finally re-emerged into the world's consciousness. The events of the past 150 years required no extended recitation from us. The period of colonialism into which we were plunged culminated with our continent fettered and bound, with our once proud and free peoples reduced to humiliation and slavery, with Africa's terrain cross-hatched and checkerboarded by artificial and arbitrary boundaries. Many of us during those bitter years were overwhelmed in battle, and those who escaped conquest did so at the cost of desperate resistance and bloodshed. Others were sold into bondage as the price extracted by the colonialist for their protection, the protection which they extended and the possessions of which they disposed. Africa was a physical resource to be exploited, and the Africans were chattels to be purchased bodily, or at best, peoples to be reduced to vassalage and lackeyhood. Africa was the market for the produce of other nations and the source of raw materials which factories were fed. Today, Africa has emerged from this dark passage. Our Armageddon is past. Africans have been reborn as free. Africa has been reborn as a free continent, and Africans have been reborn as free men. The blood that was shed and the sufferings that were endured are today's Africa's advocates for freedom and unity. Those men who refused to accept the judgment passed upon them by the colonializers, who held unswervingly through the darkest hour to the vision of an Africa emancipated from political, economic, and spiritual domination, will be remembered and revered wherever Africans meet. Many of them never set foot on this continent. Others were born and died here. What we may utter today can add little to the historic struggle of those who, by their example, have shown us how precious are freedom and human dignity, and how little value is life without them. Their deeds are written in history. Africa's victory, although proclaimed, is not yet total, and the areas of resistance still remain. Today we name as our first great task the final liberation of those Africans still dominated by foreign exploitation and control. With the goal in sight and unqualified triumph within our grasp, let us not falter or lag or relax. We must make one final supreme effort. Now when the struggle grows weary, when so much has been won and the thrilling sense of achievement has brought us near satiation, our liberty is meaningless unless all Africans are free. Our brothers in Rhodesia, in Mozambique, and in Angola, in South Africa, cry out in anguish for our support and assistance. We must urge on their behalf this peaceful ascension to independence. We must align and identify ourselves with all aspects of their struggle. It would be betrayal if we were to only pay lip service to the cause of their liberation and to fail back on our words and act with action. To them we say, your pleas shall not go unheeded. The resources of Africa and all freedom-loving nations are marshaled in your service. Be of good courage, for your deliverance is at hand. As we renew our vow that all of Africa shall be free, let us also resolve that old wounds shall be healed and past scars forgotten. It was thus that Ethiopia treated the invader nearly 25 years ago, and Ethiopians found peace with honor in this course. Memories of past injustice should not divert us from more pressing business at hand. We must live in peace with former colonializers, shunning recrimination and bitterness, and forswearing the luxury of vengeance and retaliation, lest the acid of hatred erode our souls and poison our hearts. Let us act as befits the dignity which we claim for ourselves as Africans, proud of our own special qualities, distinctions, and abilities. Our efforts as free men must be to establish new relationships devoid of any resentment and hostility, restored to our belief and faith in ourselves as individuals dealing on the basis of equality with other free peoples. Eli, Selassie I, the first. Jah, Rastafari. Yes, this speech goes on, but we'll just seal it up at this particular time, and we'll continue with the rest of this speech on the next blazing hour of Rastafari rising. So we give thanks and praise to the word, sound, and power of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile I Selassie I the First, and also even within the like revolutionary manner of Jesus Christ, you can even see the revolutionary majesty, Haile Selassie I, calling for the complete unity of all Africa.